Communication, coaching, and training. Three very powerful words. Three words that can transform the life of a person. My guest today on the show is someone who considers these three words to be the pillars of her profession. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Creators on Graphy. I'm your host, Rishabh. My guest on the show is someone who's a soft skills and communication coach and has been in this profession for almost 2 decades now. She's someone who's impacted the lives of many, be it corporate professionals who've required her services for writing better emails, for creating effective presentations, and for improving their overall communication skills. She has also worked extensively with individuals on a one to one basis, guiding them and taking them towards their career goals and also ensuring that they reach their true potential. She has also been a keynote speaker at various events across the country. Through the course of her career, she has been associated with a lot of brands, be it Bajaj Alliance, Axis Bank, HDFC Bank, Fast Track Watches, Harman International, just to name a few. Her name is Suman Kher. So let's meet her, understand her journey, and see what her graphy is all about.
Hi everyone, my name is Suman Kher and I'm a soft skills and communication trainer. I'm going to begin this video by giving you a sneak peek into my work desk. What does it look like? What are the things does it have? How do I coach my clients? How do I plan my courses? I am going to show you all of that. So are you ready to come with me? So here is a quick tour of my work desk, which isn't much, but it has everything that I need. So to begin with, it's my laptop where I do all my work, plan my content. I'm on LinkedIn right now because I'm planning the content for the following week. Here is a tripod that I use because it's become so important in these days of virtual communication where I do all my coaching on camera. Pen and paper and post-its, really important part of my thinking process when I go ahead and think of courses and plan content for my clients. The next is my favorite. Here are all the books that I recommend to my clients, depending on what they're looking for. So you can see I have so many books on public speaking. And people who know me also know I love fiction. So you see I have the world's greatest short stories. It is a gilt-edged book. And I also recently bought this beautiful book by Elizabeth Gilbert. And now I'm going to move on to taking you to a tour of my bookshelf. So here is a stack of my books where you can see these are all non-fiction. Again, you have books on speaking, talking, confidence, body language, deep work, and this is all fiction. You can see Marquez, you can see Manto, again more Elizabeth Gilbert. So these are all tons of books that I have here. And yeah, and this little guy is a gift for my nieces because yes, sometimes I also like to be pampered. Here are some more of my books. This is my Toastmasters trophy, and yes, here are some LPs that I love to listen to during the weekend, from Pink Floyd to Mughal Azam to all these are wonderful things that I love and actually gives character to my workspace. So that was a tour of my workspace where all the magic happens. And now Rishabh has a few questions for me about my life and my work. So stay tuned and keep watching.
Hey Suman, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm fine, Rishabh. I'm very excited to be here today.
Great. So as we saw just a while back, you showed us a glimpse of your work desk and your workspace. So tell us, how do you manage to remain so organized?
I don't think I am as organized. I aspire to be. I mean, I know people whose every hour is chalked out, as business people, they really know when are they going to write content, when are they going to make videos, be online and respond to people. Maybe not so much I aspire to be, but then like you saw on my work desk, I kind of try and keep everything that I need. Like I always need a pen and paper to jot down my ideas. My laptop, of course, is my main tool. I need my camera phone and my tripod, So
right.
Yeah, when I come to the workspace, I try and be as organized as I can so that I can make the most of the time that I give in, to my work hours, and then I can just peacefully go back home.
Right. So, Suman, before we get into some of the other questions that I have for you for this particular interview, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? Obviously, I gave a little introduction about your professional background, but could you tell us a little bit about your personal life and some of your hobbies and what you do on your days off?
All right. Not many people know that I have lived in three cities in my life. I was born and raised in Bangalore, but I'm not a South Indian. I've lived in Delhi for 12 years, but I'm not a Delhiite. And I've been living in Mumbai now for the last 13 years. And I think I identify myself as a Mumbaiker because Mumbai is my favorite city. And after living through so many different cities, you kind of appreciate where people respect women. We are safe in Mumbai. So after having lived in Delhi with an 8 p.m. curfew, I think I really love living here because people just let you be. You can be whoever you want to be. I came here in 2007 after the biggest accident in any woman's life, getting married. And I'm married to a Keralite who's born and raised in Mumbai. So that's
That's
again something
lovely.
that many people know about me. So I've been living here, pretty cosmopolitan life. And it is then that I actually decided to kind of go on my way and, not go back to a full-time job. And my spouse said, why don't you want to do something, on your own? And from the time that I started in 2007 to now, it seems like a really long time. And the training industry as a business is completely transformed, and I can actually see myself change along with how things have changed, so that's a little bit about me, that people really don't know. Apart from that, yes, my hobbies are reading, listening to music. Binge watching is my latest hobby for the last year or so because we're all stuck at home.
Right.
And I'm always torn between reading a good book or binge watching, so that I read a book and then, I go ahead and watch because I think there's so much of entertainment and so much great content online, right? So I just love doing that in my free time.
Right. So, what is one recent show that has really blown your mind? Something that you really enjoyed watching?
So I watched Suits, and then I'm rewatching it. I also finished a few seasons of How to Get Away with Murder. So I think a couple of Netflix originals have been pretty interesting in the recent past. So yeah, it's interesting.
Right. So, Suman, coming to your career now, you've had a terrific career so far. 18 years, right? That's what I've read about you.
Yeah, you make me sound old, but yes, 18 years.
Yes, 18 years, terrific career. So, to reach to this point, right, one obviously has to get started. So, how did that happen in your case? Where did you realize that this is the profession that I want to get into, and how did you get started?
In the early part of this century, early 2000s, is to, go get a job. With me, I was very clear that my job has to be people oriented. I was never into sitting in front of a laptop for 8 hours a day. So it had to be something to do with people, something to do with language, maybe communication. And I thought 5 years of literature would really help me, but not so much because when you talk about corporate communication, it's something very different, So while I was looking for a job and wondering what could I do, by chance I landed with a pamphlet which spoke about coaching MBA aspirants. You have CAT, ZAC, NMAT, so you have entire coaching institutions in Delhi, tons of them. So I went and joined one of those, and that is where I really got into vocabulary, reading comprehension, grammar. If I had to teach my students, I really had to get good at it, And we learn grammar in school just like it's a subject, we do the test and we forget about it. But here I really needed to know because students would come and tell me, but why is my answer wrong? So I had to give them a reason why it is wrong and why is my answer correct, right? So I think that really helped me build a foundation in language, if you will. And I did that for about 5 years. I also got my initial certification as a trainer from Hero Mind Mind. And like I said, once I came to Mumbai, I realized that I always wanted to be a corporate trainer, And I think I learned the ropes through different jobs where I knew business communication is a module, email writing is a module, And as I kept doing assignments for different clients, I kind of picked up and said, oh, okay, there are activities, there are PPTs, because I think as a trainer, if someone is on his or her own, learning on the job is a very, very important skill. There is
Absolutely.
no graduation degree, in soft skills of communication, that you do that and you say, okay, I know everything. There are certifications, but certifications cover this and that, So now I came here, I waited out for a year. Naukri.com used to be the big thing then. So I went ahead, I put in my resume and I was waiting for assignments. It took a year while I was doing content writing, to keep myself busy. And that's when I kind of started getting assignments here and there. And I sort of built on it. And I said, yes, I can do email writing, I can do business communication. And things were going fine, but around 2013, 14, I realized that if you're sitting at home, work is not really coming to you. You have to go out
Right.
there, be on social media. And I think for me, that was a real turning point for me as a business person. Maybe it's different for others, but I realized that my colleagues were posting pictures online, and I used to be like, wow, these guys are doing so much of work. And my spouse is like, maybe it seems that way because it's all out there. And that is when I decided that I should start a company with a brand name, and I started Soft Skills Studio, where I have a blog, which is my main virtual presence. There was a lot of trial and error with LinkedIn till 2017, 18. Then I took a mastery class and things, kind of started showing up. So you can say that for the last 6 years, there has been consistent work online in building my personal brand, putting myself out there as a communication coach. And yeah, it's been a great journey, but starting from, my MBA coaching days to all the way here now, I'm like a full-fledged entrepreneur. Like I said, things have really changed in the last 15 years, but I think the whole journey has been pretty exciting.
That's awesome. So it's safe to say that you've turned your passion into your profession, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
So this profession of yours, right? If I were to ask you, what is the most enjoyable aspect of it? What would you say?
I think the fact that I get to talk to people, like I have a running joke in my classes, when I introduce myself in sessions, I tell them I love training because I get paid to talk. When I go home, people are like, just shut up for a while, okay? But here I have the right to talk, the mic is going to be with me. Yeah. So like I said, it was always going to be about people and about communication, never just hiding behind a computer and doing my work. So yeah, I think the best thing is about going out, meeting people, talking to them, making a difference, to their skill levels. So yeah, that's something that really keeps me going.
Right. So, like we mentioned earlier, that you've had a long career so far in this particular profession. So, you would have definitely come across some organization or some individual that has really been a memorable experience for you. So, do you have any that one experience that you can share with us that has been really memorable, something that you will not forget in this profession of yours?
Okay, if you're talking about mentors, not really too many, because I don't really think, the training industry is organized enough to go ahead and, kind of help each other out. Unfortunately, that's the truth. However, I think if you talk about one person who kind of inspired me and kind of made me feel that I was in the right field, right profession, is my Dale Carnegie trainer when I did my certification in 2009, Dr. Rajesh Parekh. And he saw my blog when I launched it like 10 years, almost 5 years later, and he actually commented on my blog and he said, you know what, you've really kind of put this certification to good use, and you're one of the people in the batch who really went ahead and became a trainer. The way he trained in training skills, in projecting yourself, confidence, your body language, how do you ask questions, respond to students, how do adults really learn, when you respect them. I think so he's been really one person who influenced me a lot and inspired me to be like him, and even now I insist that my classes need to start on time. I'm very respectful in asking people, are they with me, do they have any questions, and I had the good fortune of training for his own organization when he moved jobs. And at the end of it, he actually told me, he said, you know what, you still follow so many things that we learned in the trainer. So I think that was really a turning point when I was just starting on my own, and that training certification really helped. Apart from that, I think there have been a lot of great assignments that I've done. My first coaching assignment was for a woman who really wanted to find herself. And I think as a woman, I could associate where she said she's been married for 10 years. She's like, I really don't have a life and an identity. I'm a wife and I'm a mother, and I'm all over the place with these things. So I think helping her be assertive, really work on her body language and kind of get her son to get off cell phones and stuff. I think that really helped. As far as corporate training is concerned, concerned, again, I've had great assignments. I actually did some 95 batches on customer service just for HDFC Bank, which is one of the most rigorous projects that I have done in my career. So yeah, I think those are some milestones that really stand out.
Great, great. That's great to know. So, Suman, in your profession, right, there's obviously a lot of people that you have to meet. So, and there are people who come to you for advice and there are people who come to you for guidance. But are there situations where there is a coach or a trainer who does not have a solution to a problem?
And I need to give the solution.
Yep.
Okay, I don't think there is any situation for which there is no solution. So I've had people call me and tell me I have a demo. How do I plan that demo? I have to do it in 15 minutes. Okay, so then, I kind of look around and say, all right, how does that work? There have been professionals who tell me that I'm good in communication, but I'm not that impactful. Right. So then I go ahead and I see what is it that they really need as an individual. And in my sneak peek, you already saw, the books that I have on my desk, and, I have them as ready reckoners where I say, here, books like Talk Like Terror, like, there you go. It's got everything that you need. Right. So I think I'm pretty resourceful in that sense. So if anybody has any questions, we try and sit down, we brainstorm, and we say, okay, what is the best thing to do? Another thing that really helps is I'm very hands-on. I like to read things, watch things. If I don't read, I can't imagine life without it, So I think there is something or the other that kind of comes out of my subconscious where I say, okay, I think this might kind of work. So again, being resourceful is something that is important when you are working on your own, right? You don't have like a big team to kind of troubleshoot for you, right? So yeah, I think I kind of managed to get some answers, through a book I've read or a video I've watched or some experience I've had with a client, and it just works out.
Right. So you're working in a field you're passionate about. You help people all the time. You always have a solution to every problem. So what do you feel is your greatest accomplishment during the course of your career?
I think the fact that I have stuck around for 18 years, I think I wouldn't say that I'm so smart, but is a big deal because I did find people moving from training to image consulting to social media training to opening social media organizations. There was a time when people said, oh, image consulting is so big, you should become an image consultant. But I have loved what I do so much that I never really felt like I wanted to, jump fields and say, oh, this is the new thing, so let's do it, So I think I'm like vanilla, I think communication is classic. No matter what career you are in, no matter what level you are in, you will need soft skills and communication, right? So I think that vanilla brand has actually worked out for me because I have never wanted to do anything else, and I've never wanted to, jump ship to something else that might be profitable at the moment. So I think that's something really great, to stick to something because it's my passion. I don't do this as work, And I think the second biggest thing, if you ask me, is being able to set up my entire business single-handedly. Yes, I've had a little bit of help in terms of social media or, tech help in setting up my website and stuff. But otherwise, I when I started in 2014, I used to read for like 8 hours a day, where I would figure out what are the blogs in my profession, what are the blogs outside the country, what is personal branding, what kind of brand do I want, and social media kind of became a huge profession like a couple of years later, not really when I was researching, So I've actually put together the whole branding, my blog. Every piece of content that's online is written personally by me. Every video is scripted, orchestrated, everything by me. And a lot of people who've interviewed me ask me, how do you go ahead and post every single day? But I'm like, yeah, I think that is critical. If you really need to be competitive in today's times, you really need to be out there every single day, and that really helped me in 2020 during the pandemic when I was forced to sit at home because I was already out there for like 3-4 years consistently, So I think that is an accomplishment. Probably I'll give myself a little bit of credit where, I didn't have a huge team because I didn't have the budget to, kind of have to social media people to people shooting and editing my videos. I have a couple of interns now who are doing a phenomenal job. But starting from 2014, I think I've been the mastermind behind everything and I still love every bit of it. So it's all mine.
Right. So, like you just mentioned, that content creation is something that you do quite often and on a regular basis, like sometimes even daily. A lot of people don't really understand that it is really hard to create content and come up with different content every day. So, how do you kind of come up with this content? Where do you get that inspiration from? And how much time does it take you to kind of churn out this content, and where do you kind of get all this content from?
I'm glad you asked that question because content creation also has changed so much in the last 5 years. And I really learned content creation from, stalwarts like Jeff Bullas, who were like really huge guys in 2014, 15, when I was learning the ropes. The first thing that I did was I actually created an Excel sheet for my blog where I jotted down all the possible topics that I could blog on. And running a blog in itself is a sort of a full-time job, especially when you're starting out, because unless you post every week, people will not have anything new to read. And if they come to your blog, you haven't been there for a month, you have just like 5 posts, they're never coming back, you know? So the first thing I did was I created an Excel sheet where I said, under presentation skills, what all can I write? Under writing skills, what all can I write? Under body language, under powerful communication, right? So that was kind of my list where I would go and then I would write posts. And I think it's only gotten better after that because now we have videos, we have images, we have GIFs, we have carousel posts. The sky
The options are limited, yeah.
Yes, the time is really less, and I'm so glad I have great interns now to help me out with that. However, like I said, major writing is my job, on all my media, which is my blog, my LinkedIn, my YouTube, everywhere. I think I initially started off with this ready-made list, and if you see my content, it is still very tips-oriented. If there are 2 things that I've learned, which probably the viewers can take from, is number 1, there is a lot of cross-posting that can happen. If you've created a piece of content, you should be able to use it at least 6 times in different ways. And the second thing is reposting, which a lot of people don't do today. I read about people saying, oh, I was sitting on my laptop today and wondering what to write. And then I thought of this story and I wrote. And I feel if you're randomly sitting on your laptop and writing things every day, your brand will be random because it doesn't have a goal. It's not going anywhere, right? So I've been very, very particular about how my brand is, how each post is going to contribute to it, right? So if you have a content idea, juice out the maximum out of it, because as a trainer, my job is to run my business. And there have been times when I've been guilty of getting so sucked into creating content, making sure my social media is running, and there are posts every single day and there is exposure, that I have, kind of really warned my interns saying, if you ever see me, scheduling posts, just stop me right there, okay? Because I just get carried with that whole thing because I'm so passionate about posting stuff, right? So if you write a blog post, create a LinkedIn post out of it, make a YouTube video, create a carousel post, make an image, and only retire that piece of content, because there are 6 different ways you can get exposure. Some people like to read, some people like to watch, some people would like images, some people would like a quick, slide deck sort of a thing. So you are catering to everybody, and don't hesitate to repost content. So I technically have like 30-40 pages of content that we can just churn, not just videos, but just LinkedIn posts, apart from like 250-60 blog posts. Right? So I think if you plan how your content needs to be, the fear of content creation is really not going to be there. You just need to work with what you have, flip it through different ways, and always keep your brand at the center of that content.
Right. So based on what I've understood, you would suggest that people create a content bucket, right? And they kind of note down all the topics they want to cover and the outcome that they want out of that, right?
Yes. So that would be an ongoing process, I mean, pick up any profession that you want. There can be different content buckets in terms of tips and tricks, lessons that I've learned, stories. You make those buckets on an Excel sheet and then you keep writing individual ideas. You will never run out of content ideas. And that's an ongoing thing. Sometimes you're sitting somewhere, you watch something and you say, hey, that is like a good twist, to bring in communication or to bring in what went wrong and how great communication could have sorted this. just jot it down, phone, notebook, anything that should always be there initially. And then it just becomes a part of your mind, you're constantly looking for content ideas.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Suman, coming to a slightly serious subject, like you mentioned some time back that not just you, everybody was forced to stay back at home due to the pandemic and the lockdown, and modules had to be changed, processes had to be revamped. So, how much did that impact your life? I mean, did it create a major change in it, or were you someone who like took it in your stride and were like, it's okay, no matter what happens, I have to get on with my business?
I don't think the pandemic was easy on anyone. It, I think, affected all of us in one way or the other. However, I think in terms of business, the pandemic actually kind of went in my favor. Although, yes, there was a huge overhaul needed where, even now corporates are not very convinced that we can bring an 8-hour session to a 2-hour session online. So there hasn't been a lot of those leads and businesses because they still feel, what can we do in 2 hours? However, on the flip side, I think the pandemic has clearly shown that we can't stop our lives till we can step out and be normal, right? And a lot of people have been very open to the fact that I'm sitting at home, I have nowhere to go, I have a camera, I can connect with people. Why don't I go ahead and work on my skills? And my business basically has been pivoted mainly on this, and which is why I have a tripod and I have a specific phone for the sessions, which makes the camera and the shot look good. And 100% of my business right now is on camera, online, and I try to change a few things. For instance, I have a Calendly link right very prominently on the header of my blog. It's there on my summary on LinkedIn. It's there as a featured post on my profile as well. So I've opened these channels where it's easier for people to get in touch with me. Earlier I would run into them on, LinkedIn local event or a networking event. There's a panel discussion, right? But that has come down to absolutely zero in the last 1 year. So I kind of made it easier for people to find me so they can schedule a call and I'll call them back. So that is one thing that I have done. And then I think a lot of people also, like I said, have realized that they can sit at home and learn. So that has been my major business in the last 1 year, where e-learning, so-called, and Upgrad is like right there on top, minting money, literally laughing their way to the bank, right? And there are a whole lot of these e-learning services that have come up. So I think in that way, it's been easier. And since I was already doing YouTube videos since 2015, I think that kind of really helped me because it wasn't a huge learning curve for me to sit in front of the camera and start coaching people or start training people, So initial 2-3 months, I was like, let's see what things happen, because it was very shocking to just sit at home and have like literally nowhere to go. And my spouse, who travels so much in the last 13 years, last year was the first year when he was actually at home 24/7, so that was a huge personal adjustment, saying, wow, okay, we're here, and we're here 24/7 in front of each other, right? So initially, I didn't really jump into the webinar bandwagon. I was like, let's see how things go. And I think since I already had my branding in place, when people would Google or search on LinkedIn for a communication trainer, my name started popping up. I started getting calls saying, I'm looking for communication, would you do it? And the whole format kind of changed. Earlier, I was used to 8-hour trainings for like 30 people in a conference room. Now it was completely different, where I had to change the way I coach in terms of the content, the activities, to just maybe 60 minutes. If it is a group, maybe 90 minutes. That's about it, So that's when I came up with one-on-one coaching, where I make customized session plans for everyone. I do one-on-one coaching, and I work individually with each client. There is no 4-step course or a 3-step communication program that I run. So I think it took some time, but I have taken it in my stride. Business has been better because I think I was ready with my branding, and people sitting at home realized, well, it is possible. Whereas earlier they would say, you live in Bombay, I live somewhere else, how will I coach? No, I want it face to face, but now they kind of realized it works. So yeah, pandemic that way has helped. I think training businesses, thankfully, this industry can thrive on, in-camera sessions. So it's kind of helped.
Right, absolutely. So, Suman, normally, as we see in corporate organizations, right? There is a hierarchy system. Like there is a junior level exec, there's a middle, and then there's a senior. But let's say in a profession like yours, there is nothing like a junior coach or a senior coach or something like that. So how does one kind of, when they get started, rise up the ranks in, especially in your profession? Is networking one of the keys in this profession?
I think, first of all, the words trainer and coach are so casually taken up as professions, that I actually run a trainer mentoring program where I wrote a post in 2015 that became so popular that been the highest viewed post in the last 5 years consistently, and which is why I said, let's start a trainer mentoring program. It's a 4-step process. And I have people coming from all walks of life getting in touch with me saying, we read your post, we want to be trainers. Okay. It's not that easy. All right. But since we don't have an entry barrier, literally anybody can get up and say, I want to be a trainer or a coach.
Right.
However, I think the first question I ask anybody who wants to start off is, why do you want to be a trainer? If you think, oh, being an entrepreneur is so much fun, I can do what I like, I'm going to make tons of money. No, that does not happen. However, if somebody feels that they're really passionate about it, I think the first thing that they should do is think about what do they want to train on? Do they want to be a soft skills? Is it communication? Is it social media? Is it personal branding? Is it something technical, process trainer? Okay, so number one, decide what is it that you want to train on. Number two, go ahead and build your skill in it. Be a commander in your field. Nobody should be able to stop you and say, hey, you're wrong with this, right? And I think one of my strengths as a trainer is that I read a lot, I watch, I'm constantly on LinkedIn looking at what are people doing. I follow different hashtags. So I also run into coaches from different countries, to see how are they looking at public speaking? What do they do in terms of communication coaching? That's what kind of keeps you current. So you go ahead and you really build your skill, get a certification, read books, watch videos, right? So if you say I'm a social media trainer, or if you say I'm a communication trainer, people should look at you, talk to you and say, yes, I can believe you are that. Okay. And the third most important thing is to go ahead and build your brand online. In today's times, there is really no way to tell people what you do or how good you are. It has to be through the content that you post, the comments that you leave on other people's things. So I think these are the three main things that I tell people to do. Number one, why do you want to be a coach? What do you want to coach on or train on? Number three, be really good and go out and tell that to people online.
Right. So Suman, what is the exact difference between the two of these, and what are the requisite skills required to excel in both these things, be it coaching or training?
Okay, let's start with training first. Training is where I am the expert and I'm going to train you. I'm going to handhold you, give you the tips. Okay, so mainly it's what I know and I'm transferring the knowledge onto you. Okay, coaching is more to do with technical coaching, like coaching in terms of the definition is me trying to help you reach solutions and your goals on your own. So I'm just facilitating that process by asking you questions and saying, okay, if you're disorganized or if you feel your time management is bad, what do you think is the main reason? How can you go ahead and figure that out, right? There are also a lot of techniques that we are taught. I'm an Erickson certified coach. So there are different techniques that we are taught to get the client to get unstuck, to look at an alternate situation, to probably see right into the future and say, okay, let's look at 5 years down the line. What do you think you will be? Who do you think you will be? And then you kind of reverse engineer that, right? So a coach is mainly a facilitator. A trainer is someone who has the skills and the knowledge, and this person is going to go ahead and give it. Training, as I already told you, it's good to know what you want to train in, get a certification, go out there and tell people this is what you do and be really good at it. If you want to be a coach, there are certifications like from Erickson or maybe ICF, you go ahead and get yourself certified. However, the kind of coaching that I have started doing right now is a mix of, it's coaching because it's one-on-one, but it's also training because I'm the one giving people the tips and the tricks on how to do it. So I've kind of brought both of these things together because that is what the pandemic demanded, where people wanted to do one-on-one, but they wanted to learn from me. I can't say, okay, so why do you think you're not good in communication? That's not what they're looking for, right? So training is me giving you information because I'm the expert. Coaching is believing that you are the expert of your life and I'm going to facilitate you're reaching the answers on your own by asking the right questions.
Right. So, Suman, now that you're a veteran in this industry, and you've completed 18, 20 years, what do the next 10 years look like for you? What is in store for you?
Wow. I don't think you should ask that to somebody my age. I have been really bad at crystal ball gazing and saying, what is my life going to be like? Because I've literally kind of, things have happened where it was grad, post grad, I did a job, I got married, I came here, you know. But I think in the next 10 years, provided business kind of runs like this, and I think the pandemic really has made us all smarter in troubleshooting and brainstorming how to stay afloat even if literally the world shuts down. So next 10 years I really want to build my business to higher levels. I'm working currently on online courses on Udemy. I've also been working with Graphy and an academy. I also have my open sessions happening. My one-on-one coaching is going on. I've also started something called for fun called Unscripted, which is an impromptu speaking session where 8 people get together once a week, and just practice, which is also part of my philosophy that says take action. You want to be good at speaking, jump in and speak. You can't do that if you're just watching and listening and reading. You have to do it, right? So this is another fun thing that I'm doing. So no matter what I do, I think I will stick to what I'm doing, because for me, this is not work. This is passion. And it's not one single day when I don't get out of bed and say, hey, let's get started, right? So I'm going to continue working in this and see what are the different ways in which I can go ahead and get my knowledge out to people, whether it is through videos or blog posts or courses or e-learning or whatever. So yeah, I just want to take the business to a new level and make more money.
So the next 10 years, so the next 10 years seem absolutely jam-packed and action-packed for you. I can see that. So
I hope so. I'm in no mood of hanging my boots as of now. So yeah, I hope I'll be working for the next 20, 30 years easily. So, and since I love it, I'm not dreading it, saying, oh my God, I'm going to still be working when I'm 50. But yeah, I look forward to it.
That's awesome. So Suman, we're almost at the end of the show. Tell us a little bit about your course on Graphy, the one that you're conducting. If you can just summarize it for us, and what is it all about?
Okay, so Graphy is something new, and I think this is one more thing that the pandemic has thrown our way, and I'm told that I'm now a content creator, apart from being a trainer and a coach, and I'm thoroughly enjoying that. So what I've tried to do is I have 2 free courses on Graphy and 2 paid courses. So the idea is people can watch a free course, come to my session, kind of learn what virtual communication is all about, and then I have a paid session for 3 days, 3 hours in May. Similarly, I've already done one on interview skills because it's placement season and everybody's now wondering how an in-camera interview is going to work. So I've done one free session on it, and then I've also paid session coming up in May. So the idea on Graphy is to go ahead and try and also have an additional channel where I can share my knowledge and help people become better in terms of interviews or communication or whatever. So I currently have 2 things, which is on virtual communication and on interview skills for professionals and for college students.
Suman, thanks for that. Before I let you go, could you give us one piece of advice? There are a lot of people who want to enter this profession, who want to become coaches, trainers, communication professionals. Could you give those people one piece of advice? They're probably watching this show right now.
I think for any profession, especially for training, my advice is get really good. Since there are no entry-level barriers here, anybody and everybody is a trainer and a coach. But there is a lot of work for all of us, especially for people who get really good. There is no option but to be a self-learner. No matter what path you pick up, what field you want to train in, go ahead and really spend time in building your skill sets, because when you do that, you really come across as credible and authentic when you talk to your clients. You will be able to cater to a different kind of audience, a different kinds of training situations. No matter what your target audience, you will really be able to do that, and that definitely gives you an edge. I can say that from my own experience. I have constantly done certifications, learned something or the other, and you have to constantly evolve with the industry, right? So get really good and really invest in your own skill sets so that you go ahead and project that kind of an image and credibility.
Right. Thanks for that, Suman, and thank you so much for being with us on this show. It was an absolute pleasure to have a conversation with you. Any last thoughts of being on the show?
Same here, Rishabh. I'm always excited to talk about my work and I'm always excited to share with more and more people. And I'm excited to be on Graphy and Unacademy. And I think this is actually a new phase in my career where, because things have changed, there are so many different ways to get my knowledge out, reach out to people and help them become better communicators. So, yeah, thank you so much for having me on your show.
Thank you. So that was Suman K, ladies and gentlemen, one of the best in the business at what she does. We had a terrific conversation with her and hope you enjoyed it too. We will be back with some more creators on our terms graphers. Until then, if you are a creator who's looking to grow your audience, monetize your skills, and host live-based cohort courses, then Graphy is the place to be. In short, be a creator on Graphy.